All right, then since we have this token, let's get back here and let's minimize the client completely because we're going to work now purely on the server side. So let's expand the function and let's get back here. Index, let's bring the index.js, nothing is there. And let's bring the package.json. So far we have only Firebase admin and Firebase functions. So we need to bring three different packages, that is course, .env and then express, those packages. So let's go ahead and then let's get back to the server. Clear. And I'm just going to say Firebase function is using the npm. So let's get into the cd functions. Make sure that you are navigating your C functions directory, then run this command. So cd functions, then here you need to run npm install. Since Firebase functions, cloud functions is using npm, we need to use the npm install. So npm install express, that's the express app which helps us to create the API endpoints. Then we're going to use the .env, that is for loading our environment variables inside our express app. Then course, this is to enable the cross-origin platform because we are trying to integrate our Node.js with our client app, so that will show cross-origin error access, and it will not allow you to access that. So we are going to enable that cross-origin error by using the course package. So install all these three packages. So now we added all those three packages. If you go here and you can see we added those three different packages. So now there is no needed of this package.json. Close that one. And now what we need to do, let me delete all these things. Okay. So here they just given a way like how to export the functions and everything. So this is one kind of way that you can export in case if you're working with the Algolia and all those things, you need to keep those things as a separate function. So this will helps you to maintain the function as separate, a function inside a function like that. So let me close this. We don't need this anymore. Delete it. And now what we need to, we need to get that Firebase admin because we have that Firebase admin. So const admin is equals require Firebase admin. Let's get that Firebase admin. All right, now we have the Firebase admin. To work with the Firebase admin, we need a service account key. So where you can get that service account key, go to your firebase.json, go to your project settings, click the service accounts, and then this will load. This is the credential. See, this is how you need to link your service account key. This is the way that we can link our service account key. So what we need to do is, let's generate this private key. We need to keep this private key securely. So let's bring this. Let me okay, so now what we need to do is we need to bring this inside our application. So what can I do? Let me take this and let me bring it over here and put it inside the functions folder like this. Put it inside the functions folder. That should be inside your root folder because functions, since functions is our root folder. So put it inside that and let me copy this name and I'm going to rename that file. Right click, rename it and paste it. Enter the changes. So then what we need to do is to we are not supposed to upload this file to our GitHub account. So what we need to do is we need to ignore this file. So let's create an env folder. So right click your functions file and create a new file called .env, environment variable. So what we need to do is we need to ignore that service account file. I'm sorry, totally sorry. So basically what we need to do is we need to ignore it. So I created the environment folder. I'm sorry. So let's let it have that file also because we need to ignore that file also. That's what I tried to say. So let's go to the git ignore. Currently inside the git ignore, we don't have anything else. So what we can do is, I'm sorry. So now what we need to do, all we have to do is to ignore those files. So let me copy this. Just ignore those files just by adding these name over here, .env. Okay, so this will ignore the file env. Make sure, double check. We need to ignore the service account JSON and env, and we need to ignore this file, and we need to ignore this file from the root directory. So save the changes. This will ignore all those files from our root directory. Now in the index.js, what we need to do is let's load that configuration. We need to load that configuration, otherwise it will not work. So require, we need to load the dot environment. Then we need to get that config functions config. All right, so now we have that config. Now we need to get that service account key const. Let's paste that service account key. Okay, service account key is equals require dot slash service account key dot json. So that loaded inside this variable. Then what we need to do, we need to create an app. So const express. Let's get the express object first. Require express. Then using that express, let's create an app. Const app is equals express instance. Save the changes. Now we have the app in our hand. Then what we need to do, we need to basically, we're going to work with the JSON data. This is the body parser for our JSON data. So we are passing everything as a JSON format. So we need to enable the JSON parser, body parser. So we don't need to download a external body parsers or anything, because by default from the app itself we can use express.json. So this will act as a body parser. Okay, use is a handler which helps you to make sure what exact body parser we're gonna use. All right, so now then what we need to do, we need to enable the cross origin, because otherwise we will get the cross origin issue. So const course equals require course, and then we need to make sure to use this course. So app dot use, inside the use handler we need to call the course object, open the cross, and inside here we need to supply an object called origin. It's going to be true. We are enabling the origin as a true. All right, then what we need to do is, since the origin is enabled, now we need to enable allow access control. We need to enable the access control also. So app dot use, open it. This is going to take two different parameters: require, request, response, and next. Okay, three different parameters, and we're going to call an arrow function. Inside here I'm just going to say response dot set. We're going to set the response as access control allow origin for everything. Access control allow origin basically for every response. Okay, then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna do like next, move to the next. Okay, now what this will enable the cross origin, so that we can send the data from from our backend to the front end. That will enabled. Now what we need to do is we need to initialize our Firebase credentials. So let me copy this one and let me paste it directly. This is Firebase credentials, so paste it here. Now this will initialize our Firebase credentials with our service account key. So let me supply that service account key over here. This is it. Save the changes. And now what we need to do is I need to export this app, otherwise it will not work. So exports dot app, we are exporting with the name called app, then functions dot https dot on request, we're gonna call this app. Save the changes. Now this app is exported. Now what we need to do, we need to create the API endpoints. All we have to do is to create the API endpoints over here. So I'm just going to check whether this is working fine or not. So app.get, if any link is coming through this route, that means basically home route, I'm going to get the request and as well as the response. I'm going to create an arrow function and I'm going to return that response dot send as hello world. Save the changes. Now we need to run this. So let's go to your package.json, and there you can see If you are using this serve command, it's basically triggering Firebase emulator start only the function. So to run your Firebase functions in your local, you need to run this command. So instead of running this entire command, we can simply say npm run serve. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go to the functions, make sure that you are inside a function. Then here we just need to say npm run serve, enter. So that will triggers that command, specify that host port in firebase.json. Unable to start 299.99999. So the reason why it's showing is because in my case already I'm running a file. I'm already running a Firebase functions in that port. So that's the reason it's not allowing me to run this. So Firebase json.config. Let's go to the Firebase JSON. Over here, we need to configure this port like this. We need to configure this port. So what I'm going to do to avoid this unwanted issue, I'm just going to stop my server for the time being. Stop it. And now let's rerun this. So this will work. There we go. So it's working. And now you can see this is the link. Copy this and let's go here and let's paste it here, slash enter, and you can see we got that hello world. So we created successfully an API endpoint, right? So now our API endpoint is working fine. Next, what we need to do is to configure a separate API route. We need to create a separate route for our users. Then we need to validate our JWT token. So that's what we're going to do next.